A little bit about Cassidy Hutchinson, if you don't mind. Jennifer Rubin in today's Washington Post, today being Sunday, points out that it is appropriate that Cassidy Hutchinson, just days before we celebrate the document to which American patriots pledged their lives, their fortunes, everything, that Cassidy Hutchinson appeared before the House January 6th Select Committee to display what everybody's agreeing now, I think you do too, uncommon bravery, honor, and honesty. I made a couple of snarky comments last week about where was she when this shit was occurring, and I immediately felt like a real dork when I said it, so I can't retract it. I mean, once spoken, you can't unspeak something, but I can just apologize for it. I think that what she displayed was bravery, honor, and honesty. And her reasons for remaining silent when she was working in the Oval Office, I'm sure, were very valid. But last Wednesday, Liz Cheney, vice chair of the committee, spoke at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. And she said that as this 25-year-old top aide to former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, as she spoke, as she gave her testimony, she provided quite a contrast with the scum that were her bosses. Cheney said, quote, her superiors, men many years older, a number of them are hiding behind executive privilege, anonymity, and intimidation. But her bravery and patriotism were awesome to behold, end quote, Liz Cheney. And cowardice. I think Cheney and maybe a couple other members of the Select Committee have mentioned before the cowardice of these son of a bitches. Cowards. Just, I mean, it's just shocking to me that they will not speak out about what they fucking know to be the truth. Because they're cowardly little rats who just quiver and shake in front of Trump, in front of that lard-ass Trump. Would you quiver and shake in front of him? Oh. So Rubin points out that even though she's gotten a lot of pressure and intimidation and this Christian fascist media attacks, this young woman stepped forward to do her duty and testify under oath. Unlike the bastard critics at the Secret Service who demanded that reporters keep their identities secret. Oh, yeah, well, fuck you. You've Secret Service. Yeah, you're very successful, aren't you? Yeah. Anyway, she was the perfect witness, Cassidy Hutchinson. She wasn't prone to any self-congratulation or exaggeration. If you'll notice, her answers were, when called for, precise and short, and when called for, long enough to be explanatory. She had vivid recollections, and those recollections were punctuated by these memorable details, such as her catatonic boss, Mark Meadows, staring at his phone on his couch. And she also provided a gripping account of the coup that Donald Trump and the scum around him were attempting to effect. She said that she recalled, I should say, regarding Trump's tweet during the attack on the Capitol, calling his vice president cowardly. She said, quote, as an American, I was disgusted. It was unpatriotic. It was un-American. We're watching the Capitol building get defaced over a lie. Yeah. And with that statement, and Rubin makes this point, Ms. Hutchinson spoke for tens of millions of us when she said that. I've talked to people. I was working out in the pool this morning, Sunday morning. There was a woman there who was in the lane beside me, and we got into a conversation for a minute and about the situation. This woman's from Belgium. She's an American citizen, but she's thinking about leaving the country and moving back to Belgium. Her husband's an American, but she said, I just can't take any more of this. And she pointed out to me that when she watched the testimony, well, not the testimony, but when she watched the attack on the Capitol, remember, this is not her country. I mean, it's where she has her citizenship. She's an American. But she said when she watched that attack on the Capitol with those scum fucking rats who were attacking the U.S. Capitol, she said, I just sat there and cried. And I said, well, so did I. So did millions of us. But we also have to certainly reserve some of our disgust for the behavior of Mark Meadows and the former Deputy Chief of Staff, Tony Ornato, and former White House counsel, Pat Cipollone. I mean, these three, what a bunch of filthy goddamn. Not only are they cowards and liars and cheats and Trump fillators, they should be forced to give up their citizenship. Get the fuck out of the country. What are you doing here? They all had absolute direct evidence of the worst betrayal by a president in American history. Yet none of them so far has done the right thing and testified. Jesus Christ, what is this? Where did these scum come from? Who produced these people? What kind of parentage did they have? What did they learn when they went to university? What did they learn when they got their law degrees? Who in the fuck got inside their heads, removed their brains, and filled it full of this Christian fascist bullshit? Where did these people come from? Cipollone is a lawyer. And Jennifer says, does he feel no professional obligation or moral duty to do what someone about half his age, without any of the resources and connections he enjoys, what she did to defend the rule of law and the Constitution? And my question would be, and I've said this before, why any of these bastards who are lawyers, who have law degrees, why the institutions that granted the degrees, or the American Bar Association, hasn't just pulled their certification and said, are you fucking crazy? You took vows and oaths. So Rubin points this out. We've come to the outlandish part of the January 6th investigation where witnesses, including attorneys, are comfortable ignoring subpoenas and taking the fifth. In other words, they are doing whatever they need to do to protect themselves at the expense of the truth and our democracy. And she also points out that we saw from the testimony provided by those two Georgia election workers, Ruby Freeman and her daughter, Shay Moss, how a mob can destroy the lives of people, the mob's eagerness to employ violence and create mayhem on Trump's behalf. It is no different from the brown shirts and the street thugs that were serving these European fascists of the 1930s. The mob threatened people who dared stand up to this cult leader, son of a bitch, Trump. And just like in Germany, the mob intimidated them, invaded their homes, terrorized their relatives, smeared them on social media. And meanwhile, this filthy bastard Trump just was so happy because the mob was defending him. And in Trump's twisted fucking rat brain, he likes to think his opponents, including the vice president, quote, deserve, end quote, whatever comes their way. In the case of Pence, execution. And this fucker is going to run again for president, and millions of people, if he does, are going to vote for him? So it's not a surprise that Meadows and Cipollone and Ornato and even Mike Pence hide behind Ms. Hutchinson's skirt. They expect to enjoy the benefits that American democracy affords them without sacrificing one iota on its behalf. As Rubin points out, she says, let the little people do the hard work of defending our freedom while these bums stay in the MAGA crowd's good graces and pursue their careers. Hutchinson did serve in a White House and in a party debased, corrupted by lies and greed and selfishness and Christian fascism. But when it mattered, when it came down to her, she did the right thing. Rubin says, quote, she earned her place alongside other truth-telling patriots whom Trump and his crowd vilified, such as Liz Cheney, a retired Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman. For telling the truth and answering her country's call when others refused, we can say, well done, Miss Hutchinson. Well, I hope to shout, well done. And she's only 25. I mean, when you stop and think about that, what she was up against, the decision she had to make at age 25. At age 25, I've just learned how to tie my shoes. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.